Hi, my name is Pamela Lear, and I'm from Temple Beth Am in Miami, Florida. I'm excited to share with you today something that I'm passionate about, that is counting the Omer and also counting the days of Elul and why it has so much meaning for me. I think about it and realize that time has a way of marching onward, regardless of our desire or our attempts to slow it down. Often it feels like life in general is happening so very quickly. It's almost inconceivable. I have two granddaughters under the age of 2, and it seems like just yesterday that my children were that age. So I'm really passionate about making the best use of my time. How to do that can be a tremendous challenge. We all have to-do lists that seem never-ending and crises that need our attention constantly. It's too easy to feel that we have wasted time or gotten to the end of a day and not accomplished enough. So one of the things I've personally found really very helpful is establishing a personal project with accountability for accomplishing defined creative tasks during a given period of time. I know that's a mouthful, so I'm going to share a couple of examples. By stating a finite expectation, in other words, a beginning and an end date, something feels more doable. So that's the first thing I recommend. Ultimately, there's a real sense of accomplishment and meaning that exists, even if nothing else was completed in that time frame. There are two things I'm going to share from a Judaism-based way of approaching this. The first, as I mentioned, is counting the Omer, which is an opportunity to count the days from Pesach to Shavuot. The origins for this are biblical, from Leviticus chapter 23, verses 15 to 16. And we are instructed to count for 49 days, which has traditionally been observed by saying a specific blessing for each of those days. I discovered a Kabbalistic tradition suggesting that this time could be used as a potential for future growth. When we each work on a midot, or a characteristic, through reflection on one aspect of who we are each day. For example, you could do a poem, a drawing. Sometimes what I do is simply pull out one of my books. It could be any book off the shelf, flip it open to any page, and see what inspires me. Then write about it, draw about it, etc. I can also show you an example from one of my journals. I keep journals like this on a regular basis, and this is actually one from 2017. Here on day 14 of the Omer, the focus from the Sfirot of the Kabbalah were Malchut Sheba Gevurah, which was really a focus on the strength in the Shekhinah. I blogged and wrote a little bit about what I thought of that, what it prompted me to consider. I did a little bit of research on it, and it created a general significance that particular day. The next day, for example, day 15, was Chesed Sheba Tiferet, looking at love within beauty and considering what that might mean. And then, as you can see, we go on and on. One of the things I will note here is that I actually appear to have skipped a couple of days back in 2017. I want to encourage people to realize that that's all right. Sometimes we're going to miss days. We need to keep moving on, even if we've lost a little bit of time there. Not critical, not a problem. According to Rabbi Karen Kedar, these rituals structure the time and activity of this season so as to elevate consciousness and inspire gratitude. In the Jewish consciousness, time is purposeful and directed, ripe with potential and filled with meaning. Every day presents us with the choice to stay where we are, to revert to where we have been, or to progress toward filling a destiny. In this year, 2019, the Omer began on April 21st and will end on June 7th. Now, the second thing that I want to mention, another Jewish counting opportunity, is in Elul. Now, that's the month that's just prior to the high holidays. Counting the days of Elul begins this year on September 1st and ends on September 29th, which is very convenient because when you're counting, the first day is the same as the first day of the month. It's quite convenient, easy to remember. Last year, I posted a thought for each day of Elul online, including, again, poetry, artwork, quotes, etc. I utilized prompts from books. This is a sample of one of my favorite books for this purpose. It's called 60 Days, A Spiritual Guide to the High Holidays by Simon Jacobson. And you can see when you flip open to just about any page, here's day 14 for Elul with all kinds of thoughts. There's facts, there's laws and customs, there's biblical references, there's stories, etc. to prompt some of those ideas. I've also, in another year, I believe this was 2016, put up photographs and blogged a bit about some of those. And when I say blogged, I'm talking about putting a post up. It may be on Facebook, it may be on Medium, it may be on any of those servers. You can see here that this was a photograph of something that had to do with the lights that were being shown on where the World Trade Center was. And I focused on some of the stories and things that reminded me of relative to Elul and preparing for the high holidays. This was a saying on my desk that I wanted to prompt and write quotes about. As I go backwards, this was a quote I really liked. I did some artwork around it, posted that, and then shared some thoughts about it. One other thing I've done, which I mentioned, is some artwork. This was artwork that I created for the month of Elul. As you can see, it was almost 2 years ago as we're going into 5780. This was from 5778. And this is artwork that I created with some thoughts in mind relative to Elul and what it meant to me, posted it online, etc. Now, I just want to share as I close here that for me, this has been a really profound thing to do. I cannot tell anyone else how to design such a project that will work for them, have meaning for them, but it's very personal and unique to each individual. And so I do suggest, though, that everyone consider tackling some small part of this, whether it's just a particular element of the creative work, maybe it's just a few days, a week, or a month, that someone wants to consider making that kind of commitment. I propose that we each give ourselves the freedom to explore, to create, and to see what might come of it. Thank you for the opportunity to share this particular passion.